Hello everybody and good morning. So I was going over a few other little editing projects here and kind of came to a realization over a very oddly specific mechanic in this game that I kind of just figured I'd share right here. So if you're anything like me, you've probably at some point or another gone through that whole process of trying to figure out how to optimize your healers in this, and especially this mostly applies to the original PSP version. This is kind of less needed in One Vision, but you may have seen Healcraft come up in some very rare occasions and wondered what exactly its purpose was. Like, why exactly would you need a buff that boosts your healing by like 5? What difference is that going to make, right? So that's kind of what I want to cover today, just to kind of show you the difference that these different numbers can potentially make, and kind of show what I think their logic was behind how they, designed this weirdly specific buff here. So let's go ahead and throw some numbers out there for context. So first things first, we've got our basic heals here. They're going to go in about 44, 64, and 84. Basically what this comes down to is it's 40, 60, or 80 plus, I believe, like Mind or something like that, and then plus your augments. Actually, no, I'm not sure Mind even plays a part in this one. So in this particular case, with nothing, so she doesn't have Anatomy, she doesn't have Augment Light, and she is basically just running her basic Mind score and things like that. She's got 64, or 44, 64, 84, right? And yes, there's a heal 4, but we're not really going to get into that here. Okay, so then we go ahead and we pop on Healcraft, and let's see what we get out of this, right? So we popped on Healcraft, and what do we have? Well, now we go back to our heals. Now we've got 53, now we've got 73, and we've got 93. So we've approximately got 9 extra healing off this, which usually it's closer to 5, so what's going on with that? Well, truth be told, I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and move on to the next ones and see how they do. Alright, so now we've got Denault over here. Now, his situation is a little bit different, and you may notice that they don't necessarily have equipment because it's not going to play much of a part for most of these guys. So this guy has just Augment Light. Currently it's at rank 1, and that's it. Spellcraft in case it makes some difference for some reason. But we go over and look at his abilities here. He gets 46, he gets 68, and he gets 90. So he's getting a little bit of a bonus off of that Augment Light. It's looking like it's a bit less consistent than last time, so there's probably some decimals involved there. But he's getting about 2 extra for the bottom one, he's getting about 4 extra for the medium one, and he's getting about, give or take, 6 extra for the last one. So it looks like it's probably... Yeah, it might be rank related, I'm not sure. Maybe he gets 2 extra per tier per rank. I'm not sure. This is just Augment Light 1, so we're going to go ahead and test this a little. Alright, so through the power of filthy cheating, we've gotten him up to rank 3 now. And now we see that he's getting 47, 69, and 91. So he's gotten about 1 extra point off that. Let's go ahead and use another one of these and see what happens. Okay, now rank 4, he's getting 47, 69, 91. So it seems like every couple of ranks he's getting 1 extra point off this. So we'll bear that in mind going forward. Alright, there we go. So now he's at rank 8 Augment Light. And let's see what we got here. So we've got his regular Vitality, or Vitalite, doing 49, and his mediums to 71, and his highest to 93. Okay, so that is a whole lot of potential level ups for a very little gain. What's up with that, right? Well, it's interesting. There's going to be more parts to this, but as you can see, just Augment Light on its own, without any equipment boosts, without any additional boosts from the map itself, it's not getting us very far. But if we go and put on a Healcraft, let's see what that does. Alright, so with Healcraft, we see his basic heal now does 62, his medium does 84, his high does 106, and if we jump all the way to the rank 4 version, it's at 127. This is with just Augment Light by itself and Healcraft, so we can see we're actually not getting an awful return off of this ability. It's not the worst thing in the world. It is still very expensive if you decide to get it off Draconics, but if you just happen to have some High Priestess cards laying around, well, this is actually pretty alright. You can already see that we're already basically getting a medium heal out of a basic heal. So that's, that's not bad at all, actually. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. Alright, so next up here we have Olivia. She's gone for, well, she was supposed to be the one with anatomy, but screw it. I guess we're just not testing anatomy. Moving on to the next one. I mean, basically, spoilers on all this. Anatomy does actually just work about the same as Augment Light. See, whenever there's skills like Augment or Anatomy or weapon skills or anything like that, it'll usually just add a basic score per level, increasing accuracy and damage. Now, the difference between this damage and the kind of damage bonuses you get off other things are, for example, let's say you're swinging a weapon, that +4 is applying to its initial attack rating, so basically the one that ends up going versus defense, meaning that having a +4 here might matter a lot more than having, let's say, a +10% on the other end. So basically all of these just apply in different bits of the equation, but mostly what you need to know is that your ranks will always be useful, and they'll always end up giving you a pretty reasonable benefit, even if the numbers sound kind of small. Now, in this particular case, we've gone full nutso with cash right here. So we've got bonuses on anatomy, bonuses on Augment Light, on everything. Technically speaking, if we just replace the Ambition with the Lippel's Rod, we could get +5 Augment Light. It's not recommendable because from what I've heard, the formula might potentially... Actually, no, I think the formula breaks if you get it to +6 somehow. But either way, +1 anatomy is going to more or less be about the same thing. So if we go over to her abilities, we see basic heal for her is already doing 50. Actually, we're just going to go back to these scrolls here because it's just way faster to check them this way. So she's at rank 1 or 2 when it comes to anatomy and Augment Light. So basic heals are doing 50, mediums are doing 70, highs are doing 90, maxes are doing 110. Okay, so that's pretty alright. So we'll go ahead and use a few of these and use the power of cheats to grind out all of our skills to max rank and see what happens. With all of her skills now maxed out, basically this is how her skills look at this point. So she has rank 12 in Augment Light, has rank 9 in Anatomy, and that's really about as high as you can potentially expect to go. There's some items that'll give you a little bit more for Anatomy or Light in particular, but generally speaking, as far as all this goes, this is about your theoretical maximum. So for basic heals, she's now getting 64s, 84s on the mediums, 104s on the highs, maxes at 124. Now that being said, that's still, that's off the basic abilities, that's kind of whatever. And if we ended up using something like Mother's Blessing, then that would up it to 140 or 248 for a single heal. So that's that's nothing to scoff at. Suddenly all of the jokes of clerics and stuff like that being kind of obsolete fall by the wayside because items by this point, that's essentially twice what your standard healing items would be doing at this point. Because you essentially have to make custom versions like craftable +1s and essences and salves and stuff like that. All of those end up taking quite a bit of time and quite a bit of resources. They're fairly expensive items. So if we go down to this, now that we have Healcraft on here, we've got 75 for basic heals, 95 for mediums, 115s for highs, and then we've got 135s on the maxed out ones here. That said, so that's 270 with a Mother's Blessing for a basic healer, right? What if I told you that wasn't even the maximum? See, every time that they use one of these naturally, so using a book doesn't count for this, but every time you use a spell of a certain affinity naturally, it will end up affecting the map to essentially give it that element. That's up on the top right there. This can stack kinda sorta like 3.9 times. For that logo up there. I say 3.9 because it's kind of like there's 4 separate stacks of it, but you never get to see a third logo appear, so I call it 3.9. At any rate, it's time to shoot lasers from the sky for a while, so we'll be right back on that. So just a little bit of a side note at this point while we're going and stacking this up. When it comes to Holy and Dark, and especially when it comes to, to how they're potentially affected by this prevailing element mechanic, it should be noted that they end up getting a lot less benefit. So for example, like let's say you're just using basic attack spells and things like that, you're getting a pretty decent benefit because every time this is used, it's raising your maximum potential damage pretty significantly. Like it's about 4 per stack. Now, when I say stack, to kind of further elaborate on that, that can mean a lot of different things, because like those stacks of emblems aren't necessarily stacks of the actual benefit. Like 1 point up, as far as the game is concerned, is roughly equivalent to 4 higher on maximum damage, give or take. There's exceptions. Sometimes it goes into decimals. Sometimes weird stuff happens. And yes, we are testing this with infinite turn cheats, just because this is going to take a billion years otherwise. But certain spells also have different scores associated with them. So, for example, things like summons and things like the forbidden spells, they'll end up doing a whole lot more. So, you know, if you have the opportunity or if you have the means, those would be the ones to end up doing. As a little bit of a side note here, trying to do it with heals itself, just like how the heals end up getting about, give or take, 1/8 of a benefit of what everybody else would get, or what every other ability would get. It's about the same when it comes to actually boosting Prevailing Element that way. You're essentially getting almost no benefit off spamming heals, which presumably was made that way because, you know, pretty much everybody can spam heals, so it kind of naturally would get a little bit busted pretty quick. But you can see, slowly, little by little, our damage is going up with Heavenly Judge here. These were all different units, but it does lead to some interesting scenarios, and now we're on 2 stacks of the Divine up there. So now we'll continue doing this until the theoretical maximum and see how good our healing can actually get. Actually, another side note here, casting from items and casting from books doesn't actually count. The way that you're supposed to do this is just whenever MP is used and the skill is checked, that's when it seems to actually raise it. So not all buffs do it. Like, if you use stuff like the resonance abilities from dragons and whatnot, then that will boost it. But if I were to sit here spamming Light Guard over and over, it doesn't seem to. It's very possible that it's like healing and it might be giving a benefit, but I just can't see it because it's so tiny. But either way, we're just going to continue spamming Judgment here for a while. This mechanic is kind of obviously designed with the thought that you would build an entire team around a specific element, and then you would just kind of get that momentum buck going. But I don't know. I think this is just really fun. I love this mechanic in general. It's so weirdly specific. You know, when would you ever need to use this? This is purely a discovered by accident kind of situation. One funny thing when it comes to boosting the elemental affinity of the map, you don't actually have to hit a person to use it. You can just target random props and it'll work just fine. As long as it starts using it, it'll end up boosting it. This can be especially funny because you can repeatedly spam summons against bushes, and it won't even bother playing most of the animation. It'll just be like nothing happens, and that's it. All right, so we've gone ahead and gone through the entire setup process here. So let's see just how good this healing is at this point. Is it going to be worth all this effort? So on our basic heals, we now have 75. On our mediums, we now have 95. On our highs, we have 115. On our maxes, we have 135. Well, that's thoroughly disappointing. So basically, it barely affects these ones right here. When it comes to Prevailing Element, it really does. It's primarily going to be damage-based. So, like, for example, if we were to do something like Word of Pain 4, it only would do 22 damage because Dark has been scaled down so hard that it's basically neutered. Meanwhile, if we go up here to, let's say, the same thing for this one, do like a Spear Surge 4, that does 267. So it fundamentally shifts the entire like balance of the map if somebody were to abuse this mechanic well enough. But yeah, as far as healing goes, the funny part is that, yeah, Healcraft surprisingly isn't that awful when combined with the proper skills. So when it's taken and combined with Augment Light, combined with Anatomy, combined with these little healing bonuses, honestly, Clerics are actually pretty alright, and I'm kind of thinking I should go back and redo the tier list, because after the last few months, you know, I've been finding all these fun things you can actually do with Clerics. They always were one of my favorite classes just on being an underdog, but there is some pretty fun stuff you can do with them. Now, that all said, let's go see how much this map stuff affected the others. So Felicia here with nothing now has basic heals of 57, medium heals of 77, and maximum, or high heals of 97, and then we can go over here and compare. Check if maybe she wasn't getting some of her bonuses. But yeah, so with absolutely nothing and just Prevailing Element and Healcraft boosting her, yeah, she's getting a pretty decent bonus off this. And if we were to, let's say, take it one step further and see if we could maybe get rid of that buff. So yeah, 57, 77, 97, 117. It's very hard to tell what exactly is potentially helping or not here. So, pretty much it seems like all of them are eventual ways to get to more or less the same goal. Which means that with all of this taken into consideration, what is our actual maximum that a cleric can heal in a single move? Alright, so with all said and done, it seems like so 135 plus 135, so 270 is going to be the maximum that can potentially be done with a single heal. It's very odd that they seemingly capped it off like this, and it's kind of making me wonder if maybe there's some more stuff at play here, but yeah, just to kind of throw it out there, Healcraft, not as bad as definitely not as bad as I thought, but yeah, let me know what you think. I know it's very basic, I know it's something that really will only apply in the base game, but something to think about as far as when it could potentially be useful. It's like, sure, clerics, you know, they can go double their healing, they can go have all these different abilities on them, but they're also not the only ones that could potentially benefit off of it. Like, for example, if you take a look at knights, it's a little bit funny that they get a lot of the healing abilities, and on top of that, can actually get access to a lot of the same light augment stuff that the you know, priest or princess or anybody else can. Here, let me show you real quick what I mean. Let's take a look at this stuff right here. So, as far as augment light stuff goes, it's sometimes a little bit iffy to get a hold of. Chokers you can easily get in Chapter 4. Holy Crowns you'll find laying around Chapter 4. The light coat I've weirdly run into more often than not, even while not really going for it. It's just the unit that drops it has a very good tendency to be all up in your face when they end up dropping the dang thing, so pretty good drop odds, pretty good placement for that guy. Well, what about this other stuff, right? So, Ambition, yeah, this is like the last item you can get in the game. That's not going to do very much for you. But Brynhildr, pretty darn good weapon. Comes with Augment Light. Has Fear-Proof built in. I mean, this sucker's pretty darn snazzy, all things considered. So, what were to happen if, say, we went and wanted to have a knight that did the same thing? You know, maybe we would just want to use our clerics for all of their tricky healing type stuff. What would that look like? So we get the Brynhildr. We have the Shield of Sages here. Now, she doesn't have the level to equip this thing, but yeah, this thing, I know I've seen drop on a couple of runs, so it's not the rarest thing in the world. But yeah, similar thing. Can have a shield with a Auglight bonus on there. I guess as a let's pretend it's that one type situation, we're going to put a Rezenzi on there. Armor-wise, same thing. Titanium mail, kind of high-level type stuff there, so we're not going to be running into that very soon. But they can also, well, okay, they can't use the light code, actually. So they would kind of need to get all the way up to 40, but they would be able to do that. And what else do we got here? They wouldn't be able to use the crown, but they can use the Frode, or Feud, or Fraud, I don't know. Anyway, point being, they also can get access to a bonus to Aug Light in every potential slot here. And also, due to the fact that they'd be swinging around the Brynhildr, using the Choker, well, would boost its damage, so basically a frontline paladin type situation with all this rare Aug Light equipment would actually be, well, pretty darn fantastic for healing. Anyway, just kind of something to think about there. Theoretically, you probably would be better off doing that on a Rune Fencer because, well, they get a few more abilities. But anyway, I just thought this was a fun topic. Basically had a couple other comparisons on different the way different mechanics worked and stuff like that coming out. And mostly it was one comparing the endgame / Palace of the Dead type situation that got me wondering for this one, you know, why did they redo the healing in this weird way? And you know what? I kind of like it. I really, really like it thinking about it now. It used to bug me for years, but comparing the two side by side, I really understand why they went for it the way that they did on this one. So hopefully this helped to, maybe air out some of the weird mysteries here, and hope you have a good one. Take care.